Now, before we're officially live, Bean.
No, we're live now.
Hello, and welcome to issue 638 of Geek in the City Radio. I am your non-shade throwing host, Aaron Duran.
And I'm that bitch, Benrita.
And I cast more shade than a carport over an RV, Cable Hashitani.
Oh, goddamn, harsh. I like that.
That's pretty good, though. Yeah,
that's pretty good, though. Well done, Cable. Thank you. I appreciate that, and I appreciate you.
Cable throws some shade, and I'm here for it.
Oh, we got those of you. Well, why would anyone else be in a text message thread with Cable? But Denise and I were in a hella thread where Cable was speaking his own truth to power there.
I'll sum it up for everybody. Just a simple little phrase is:
do it.
White people deal with your shit.
Wait, what was the last word?
White people deal with your shit.
Deal with your shit. Yes, please. Thank you.
Oh.
Yeah, that's kind of it, right? That sums it up pretty nicely.
It's true. It's true.
Mostly, all the time.
Mostly.
Pick a topic.
They mostly come at night.
Mostly. Hey,
everybody. Welcome to this new issue. Hello, Homicidal Fire Cow, joining us over on Twitch. Which, by the way, Twitch is probably the best place to watch us now. I feel like it has the best streaming service and the best chat. YouTube's great. I put the YouTube on the Patreon afterwards, because they have the purest link. I know friend of the show Sack enjoys us on Facebook Live. That is probably the worst service that we use. That's not a commentary on Sack though. Sack's a good person.
No, I mean he's Homicidal Fire Cow. He's with us right now on Twitch.
Oh, God damn it. Why am I used to him having a different... Well, now he's like, fuck you.
Well, it's because he has a different Twitch profile.
Yeah.
But he'll
That's
always
why it took me
forever
to Yeah, it's why it took me forever to figure out. I kept flipping Bex and Sack because I wasn't sure which was Homicidal Fire Cow and which was the Deal Warlock. But now I know.
Also, can I just point out that our listeners have some of the best, chat names ever.
Very, very specifically.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like deep references. I know SAC, which stands for somebody's attractive cousin, is a deep cut from The Simpsons.
One of my favorite Simpsons episodes.
Yeah.
So what are we talking about tonight?
So, Cable, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say I do know we're going to go back to what is the name of the world that Avatar inhabits?
You know
what? Does it have a name?
No, it's just the Fire Nation, the Water Nation, the Earth Nation, and the Air Nation.
Yeah, but does the world have? I don't think it does. If it does, we're going to get called out for it.
I'm sure it does. I haven't heard it. Anyway, we're going back to that world and hanging out with Aang and Sokka and the other one's name. What's the other one's name?
Katara.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I know it just don't ask me to spell it.
And then a bunch of new trailers have dropped. Like one just an hour before we went on air, I think.
Well, I think it dropped around noon today, but yeah, it was early today for sure.
So we'll definitely have some takes on that, and then I have something of a report from what I did over the weekend.
I feel like we should jump with that because you were at, was it BrickCon?
It is called Bricks Cascade. This was the 10th. Yep, it is Portland's own Lego convention. And this was its 10th anniversary. Yet last year would have been its 10th anniversary, but they COVID.
Yes.
The last Bricks Cascade took place in 2020, about a week before the entire city shut down.
You were at that, right?
Nope. This is the first Bricks Cascade I've been to in Wait, was I at the 2020? I don't remember.
I feel like you were, actually. I seem to remember you like giving your report on it.
Maybe I was.
I think you were. You're giving us the return.
Yes. Well, I did return, and
return to Brooks Cascadia.
It was definitely like I was already excited about it, as it were. One of these days, I will actually build something that I'm impressed enough in that I will submit as a builder and showcase it. My problem with the Lego community, like I love Lego and I love building and I love learning new things, but boy, howdy, I have an issue with adult fans of Lego, or AFOLs as they're known.
Well, if you feel comfortable, do you want to just start with that tonight?
Ooh, I think I'll just talk more about the positive things about the convention, and then before delving into some of the things that could use improvement. We'll say that the thing that turned into a big question mark is this was also the weekend that the state of Oregon lifted its mask mandate.
Yes.
So Bricks Cascade went from masks are required, we require vaccination records, to, well, the convention center isn't requiring anything anymore, so wear them if you want to.
Yeah, because anyone who's been following us for a while, when there was the Rose City in 2021, will know that the Oregon Convention Center is one of the more gutless organizations in Portland.
And when we say organization, it is run by a parent organization, which is called Metro.
Metro. It is not the city of Portland. It is a sub-government, basically.
Yes. Yes. It's like a contract arm of the Portland city government.
Right. I'm trying to think if there's a pop culture analogy to Metro to the city of Portland, and I'm coming up short. It's it's not the Section 31 of Portland, because that was suggested.
That's too cool.
Yeah, it's too cool and effective. So it's I got nothing.
I don't either. I do remember back in the day when we were running conventions, I often mentioned that Metro in its purest form could teach some lessons to the mafia of how to shake people down.
You mean how like they found $5,000 that the Stumptown Comics Fest owed, even though they were never told that they were owed that money until it was too late?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Spoilers. Anyone who's going to run a convention in the Oregon Convention Center, all those fun rooms that are not connected to the convention center, even though they tell you that those are rooms for panels, you pay for those separately. And you find out after you book it that you pay for those separately. So
they are the Luby's cafeteria of.
Nice. All right. Well done. Thank you, Bean.
Sorry, I just got excited. I realized that Melon has a dark mode. Oh, isn't
it the best?
Oh, I love this.
Yeah. So yes, you went to the Oregon Lego convention right as a new variant was discovered. By the way, called Delta.
Already? We already have another new variant?
Oh, it's been around for like 2 weeks now, but it's now hitting U.S. shores.
It's fine.
Well, that's how it works usually.
I do want to point out that I'm annoyed at this variant name.
What is it called?
Because, well, here's the thing. It's actually a combination of Delta and Omicron. These are two variants that have now mutated together, and they are calling it Deltacron. I'm annoyed because that's a really fucking righteous Transformer name. And I'm really upset that they have used a global pandemic and they have ruined what is potentially one of the most badass Transformer names ever. I don't know what Deltacron is as a robot that more than meets the eye. All I know is that it would look fucking righteous, and I'm really upset that it's now a virus variant and not a Transformer.
It is a mobile biohazard multi-purpose vehicle.
Yes! Oh my God, Cable. Yes! But it's got to be a Triformer. I feel like it's got to be a big one. Oh, so what if it's a bunch of like emergency vehicles like emergency biohazard vehicles that then form
into Deltacron.
Oh,
okay. Yep.
Yeah.
I'm with it.
So they are on their own. They are the FEMA bots, and they transform and form into Deltacron. That's good. Attention, Hasbro and Tanaka. I have your newest Transformer.
I'm sorry. Sack is saying that it should be a refrigerated mortuary truck.
Well, no, that's the core one, because you always have the core vehicle, which is the big one. Then you have the arms and legs, and the core also sprouts the head. Yeah, yeah. So the FEMA bots transform into Deltacron, the most powerful viral robot.
If you don't want to wait for Hasbro to make them, you can build them out of Lego yourself.
There you go. Bring it back.
So anyway, I ended up going. I was glad that both days I noticed that the mask to unmask was about a 60-40 ratio, so which is still better than I was expecting a 30-70.
Yeah, I mean, you're dealing with the bridge and tunnel crowd, so yeah.
Oh man, that gets put in the needs improvement column.
Yes.
I went to the grocery store very briefly on Saturday, and it was about 60-40 no mask. And then I did like my proper grocery. No, that's not true. Where did I go on Sunday?
Do you still shop at that same grocery store by your house?
Yeah, the fucking Safeway on Saturday? Yeah. Well, yeah, I fucking shop there at that fucking piece of shit. God, I fucking hate that place. We don't have to hide the fact that the Safeway on Sandy is a fucking travesty.
So I shop at the QFC on like Burnside and 58th, and it's like 80% masked. Like that's granted, the building right across the street from it is an elder care center, so I feel like maybe they are more, caring. But yeah, almost everyone in that building is still masked up.
No,
I love it.
It's basically the last grocery store before 82nd Avenue.
That's a good zombie movie title, by the way.
The last grocery store before 82nd Avenue.
Yeah.
I desperately wish to have a different grocery store, but everything else is farther away, and it just becomes it makes it that much more of a thing to have to deal with. As it is, grocery shopping is
right.
It's a
groceries though, not made of Lego. Sorry, we keep distracting. I want to jump in really quick. So, Cable, you posted a lot of photos. That Jurassic Park exhibit is fucking huge and wonderful.
It is. I have a public profile on Instagram. It's K Hashitani. It's one of the only places on the internet that I'm not Arashikami. But yeah, if you're interested in seeing what I post, I've been putting it in my stories. There's a highlights reel on my profile page. Not that I'm trying to promote my own Instagram, but if you're interested in seeing these photos, my photo gallery on my phone right now, 1/3 of it are photos I took over the past 2 days. And there's like 1,700 photos on my phone. So I took a lot of photos, and I'm slowly just kind of putting them in my stories. But yeah, the first day I just went by myself to kind of check everything out. The second day I went with friends. I went with my friends Tish and her daughters Ava and Vivian, and then met up with my friends Kelsey and Lex later in the day. And I went by myself and had a nice time kind of checking everything out and seeing where everything was that I maybe wanted to go by this or maybe go by that. I actually spent like far less than I had budgeted for the convention.
I was going to say, I know that like Legos is the one time where you're like, fuck it.
It is, but I also came in with a list and I'm like, oh, they don't have what I have, and I don't need to impulse buy things. I think the thing that I impulse bought was a t-shirt for $10.
What's the one Lego set that you've missed that you've been like, that you would consider I don't care what they're asking. I want it. Or does that even exist?
I do still care what they ask for it. However,
it does. Is there one that they could push? Be like,
it is the Monster Fighters Haunted House, and it's not
you and I have the same one then.
Yeah, and it has nothing to do. It's only partially to do with the set itself. Friends, go look it up. It's called the Monster Fighters Haunted House. There are 2 haunted houses. There's the one that they just published last year, year before, which is a fairground. It's part of their fairground ride, so it's a haunted house ride.
Yeah, it's an elevator drop.
Yep. This was from the Monster Fighters line, and it is the closest thing to a modular building for one of their system sets. And it's this old creepy house full of monsters.
It looks a lot like the Addams Family house.
A little Addams Family, a little Monsters.
Monsters, yeah.
It manages to kind of capture both.
Because it was the one that wasn't in regular stores. I think it was only online and at Lego stores. It wasn't in like a Target or whatever.
And this was like a $200 set when that was actually a lot for a Lego set.
Yeah.
As strange as that sounds. Like this came out when they were just starting to toe the line of like, here's a $200 set. It's like,
yeah, I mean, I feel like they had the ridiculous like Star Destroyers, but that was like it wasn't like you could just buy it. It was more like a promo of like, look what we've done. The Monster Hunter set, that one, yeah, you're right.
I think the most expensive set at that time was the Death Star, which was like $400, and everyone kind of went, well, yeah, but it's the Death Star, and then people still bought it in droves.
Yeah, which is the set that was featured in the first Tom Holland Spider-Man movie.
Yes, it was. Okay. But yeah, it's the haunted house. Bricks and Minifigs here in town has a used open set for $450. There was a mint in box one at the convention sold by you know who, because it came out of their private collection.
Ah, yes.
I don't know who.
Angel and Michelle.
The old owners of Guardian Games. We've often joked that Angel and Michelle, but specifically Angel, opened Guardian Games so that she could have a Lego retail account so that she could get every Lego set she wanted, which is a noble passion.
There is more truth to that than anything else.
And I don't mean that as a slight. I get it. Like when I was in the 8th grade, you couldn't buy comics in Susanville. So I actually started a comic book store out of my bedroom. And this was back when Diamond had very low minimums. Mm-hmm. And I got myself and 10 of my friends to basically order enough to be considered a comic book store by Diamond. So for a while there, I ran a comic book shop when I was 8 years old for like 18 months until friends quit paying. And I was like, well, I got to close my account. I can't afford to pay for all this anymore. And they're like, well, we're done reading comics. So I closed my account. So I get it.
Yep. But yeah, they had one for $600, but again, never been opened. I have seen Angel and Michelle's private collection. And they did at one point in time, at least have 2 or 3 of everything. So yeah, they're at that point where like we can start whittling down on this.
Yeah, I've seen their collection too. It was like that moment in 50 Shades of Grey, the movie, when he's like, I have an obsession. Let me show it to you. And the door opens and it's like, in the movie, it's S&M gear, but in Angel's version, it's a garage full of money. It's like, I have an obsession that I must show you. And then it's just Lego.
In their it's the attic.
It's the attic. No, in their first house. The first time I came over, and she's like, I was like, oh, Angel, you have a great house, you and Michelle. And she's like, let me show you the garage. I'm like, well, it's a garage, but okay. She's like, no,
you're gonna want to see this.
You're gonna want to see this. And she opened the garage door and was like, She had a table where she was building her own custom like Lego town, and then it was a 2-car garage that had no car in it, none. All it had were Legos along the walls with specially crafted, built shelves, and then a table where she was building like Angelville. So yes,
I've had my own versions of that over the years.
Well, you keep building Avengers Tower to get bigger and bigger.
Yeah, I'm pretty much limiting it to what's on these shelves here now. I do have I need to pick up the Avengers compound set so it can be the base, and then I'll need to build up the tower like another floor. It's got to go up another floor because when I finally get the Daily Bugle is huge.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Jurassic Park was one of the most elaborate builds. It's all a group build. Like there are a bunch of those models are made by individuals or a couple people, and then they just they talk together about how to put that all together in a table format. So it's everything. One of the factoids about that table that fascinate me is apparently every single dinosaur on that table belongs to one person.
Wow.
Well, how big was the table?
You mean Tara's potential boyfriend and or girlfriend?
It was
it looked big.
It was a standard 20 by 20 convention booth.
Wow.
And there was basically a table set up in a square all the way around. At least 5 feet deep.
Yeah, because the pictures you showed me, every one of those pictures you showed of that Jurassic Park booth, there was no repeat photos. There was maybe photos that continued a story, but like it was completely different. And I chuckled heartedly at watch Jurassic Park in Jurassic Park.
That one was funny.
It was so good. Yeah, it was solid.
That was a funny little joke. I'll see if I can.
Norm says your photos were amazing, and Norm is a professional photographer.
Thank you, Norm. I do appreciate it. Denise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's huge.
That's massive. Oh, let me see if I can give you the.
Oh yeah, that's a whole. Go. Wow.
That is bonkers.
It's a lot of dinosaurs.
Yep.
Well, it's a lot of Legos.
Yes, it is.
That's an yeah.
There are some other things that like I haven't even posted yet. Good Lord.
Cable?
Yes.
Have you ever been to Legoland?
No, I
do you have a desire to go?
Of course I do. I don't have any children.
Let's go to Legoland.
Wait, do you have to have kids to go to Legoland? Is that
if you're an adult, you cannot attend Legoland without children?
What?
It is designed to be one of the most child-safe parks ever. So they don't just allow adults to go to the park. I think they have a week where it is adults only, or a day or something like that. But the rest of the time, it is a family park. Single adults that are not there chaperoning children are not allowed to enter the park.
Look, I get it.
Oh shit! Adults over 18 must be accompanied. There are specific adult Lego nights.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so here's the thing. My niece, I probably won't say her name because I haven't asked my sister yet. I have a niece.
You have a niece.
I guarantee my niece actually. So my niece's obsession with Lego is to own all castles. She's not connected to a specific. She loves all of it. My niece loves castles. So if Lego puts out a castle, she wants it. That's fair. We can take my niece, which means we'll probably have to take my sister, but because she loves Legos also. Anyway,
well, how many adults can one child bring in?
I just looked it up on their website. There is no limit, so you can have 20 adults with one kid, long as you're all together.
I'll post this. Yeah, that's exactly what you think it is. And
what? Is that the guy that? I've watched that guy's videos on TikTok and Instagram.
Probably down in here, you can see the whole ballroom scene, and it's motorized
because he runs the doom buggies through it to show. He's my hero. I love him. Sorry, I got a little excited.
There's the ballroom.
Yep. Also, out of all the Disney Lego tie-ins, why the fuck haven't they done the Haunted Mansion yet? That's such a given.
There's the stretching room.
Is this room actually stretching? Or is your imagination?
So, yeah, I think that if I was a viewer of Lego Masters at all, I would also probably enjoyed that segment of the show and maybe hit a panel or two, because they had, like, I think 6 of the contestants from Lego Masters, including the 2 that live here in Portland.
The 2 local. It still is weird that you not watched that show at all?
I haven't watched it at all.
Is it for a lack of desire or just you don't like reality television? Or both?
It's like I've gotten enough building in these days that I can probably watch it now, but at the time I was not, like, everything had been put away and I was not actively building and I was not in the headspace to build, and watching that show would have been like dangling alcohol in front of an alcoholic who's trying to get sober.
That's fair.
Aww.
And I'm like, I don't need to do that to myself at all.
Well,
that's a horrible thing to do.
I will say, if the time ever comes and you get in the right headspace, it is a charming show, and the story and the stories behind the builders. Like, there are builders who are like father and son, or family members. The stories behind the builders are legit charming. Will Arnett is a fun host. He's being Will Arnett. And then there's what's her name, which, Cable, you and I have discussed off camera. The 6'1"
Yes.
Scottish woman.
Yes.
That neither of us realized that we had a thing for until she appeared on Lego Masters, and we're like, oh.
I'm pretty sure that I already knew that I had a thing for 6-foot Scottish women.
Yeah, well,
with engineering backgrounds. That
yes.
doesn't surprise me as much.
Yes. Jen and I were watching like episode 1, and she's like, "This is so fun. Will Arnett's great." I'm like, "Yes." She's like, "What?" I'm like, "Nothing." And then she's like, "Oh, I get it." Yes, yeah. 6 foot tall Irish engineering majors that now play with Lego. I'm like, that's a thing apparently.
Mm-hmm. Has just a little dom going on.
She does have that. There are a few episodes where she doesn't have an undercut, but they styled her to have an undercut. Denise is like, "Fuck this, I'm out."
I'll come back in 5 minutes. It'll be done.
These gross, horny men.
She's not wrong.
She's not wrong. Sometimes she just wears a suit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there were a lot of things.
Come back, Bean. We're done being gross.
She'll come back. It's fine. I do have a little show and tell. I bought little sets. All the people that I went with had
You're
fun.
Never done.
Everybody had fun. So in addition to the t-shirt that I bought on the first day, I also bought this tiny little set, which is fracking adorable. It's a hot dog cart.
Like some hot dogs from New York.
And when the wheels spin, the top of it spins. That's a little top. It's cute.
Was that a custom little like weird hot dog on the top of it, or they'd make that?
Oh, it's a official Lego piece. Like, there's the hot dog itself. The bun is a separate piece.
Look, I can say as someone, I went to the 2016 New York Comic-Con with Matthew Clark.
Mm-hmm.
And it is completely possible to survive on New York hot dogs on $10 a day. It's not good for you, but you can do it. So, just saying.
When I was a cook in the Army, they would have 2 lines for food. One was called main, and it would be like actual entrees and vegetables and stuff. And then the other side was called short order, because it would be like burgers. Every day it had the same thing on that side: burgers, fries, fried chicken, grilled cheese, hot dogs. And there was a guy who ate 2 hot dogs because that was the serving. 2 hot dogs for lunch, 2 hot dogs for dinner every day. And I'm going to tell you right now that man looked like a human hot dog. So,
Oh, I was about to say, like, he sounds like a hero.
Go with God, like
so
whatever.
That reminds me. So, like, way back in the day when I worked for Zipcar, sometimes I had to take the bus into downtown, and there was the man that I called Tasty Wolverine. There was a dude who used to get on the bus on like Belmont and whatever, and he clearly loved corn dogs because he would come on the bus with 3 corn dogs coming out of his fingers like he was Wolverine, and he'd go, han, 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 han. He would just eat them down, but he'd come on the bus like he was fucking Weapon X as like like corn dogs as his Wolverine claws. And I was like, C. I don't know who you are, but you're living your best life, sir. Mm-hmm. Like, you're the best at what you do, and what you do is delicious.
Someone pinged. Here's some additional figs that I picked up. These are from the Collectible Minis line.
Ooh.
It's a pea pod.
Ooh, chili. Oh, pea pod.
Yep. Someone in a little raccoon suit.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And then, for named figures, I picked up a General Mayhem from the Lego Movie 2, which is, I didn't really get any sets from that movie when it came out, and this was one of the figures that I had always wanted because she's one of my favorite characters from that, and they were with Aaron.
I really wanted that set that she with her ship.
Oh yeah,
it looked like a gyroscope. Now I have to like go off of memory, so I'm fucked. But from what I recall, it was kind of like a big round. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I feel like it was gyroscopic.
Almost, it had that feel to it.
Right. Yeah, I wanted that set.
Captain Marvel / Shazam, not that. Billy Batson.
Why is he wearing a hood?
Because he wears a hood now in the comics. He wears his hood up.
Cool.
And then a Sandman.
Huh.
Focus here.
Cool little. Yeah, I think you have to hold still for a second to let it.
Yeah, it's got a neat rock base to it. Like this little weird
instead of legs.
Base. Mm-hmm. Because he's just spiraling sand. And then I stopped to buy Citizen Brick. Let's see if you can see that. Yes. Citizen Brick. These are little stands they make. Citizen Brick is a third-party Lego compatible company. I bought a bunch of heads from them. As well,
you can never have enough heads.
You can't. As well as those stands. Citizen Brick. Unpaid, promotion going on here. They make Lego compatible toys, and all of they use ABS plastic. They do injection molding, and they do pad printing. So it's very, very high quality stuff that's compatible with all of your Legos.
Wait, what's pad printing?
Pad, I don't remember if pad printing, if pad is an acronym, but it's essentially this, like you've got the ink in a design here. Irma. You have this, the ink in the design on a plate here, and then you have this spongy stamp, yeah, that comes down and squishes onto the ink, and then squishes that onto it, forms to the plastic, especially when you're trying to do it on a tiny round face.
Mm-hmm. I'm actually very familiar with this process. It's similar to how you do nail stamping, and it's also done for pottery. And that actually makes perfect sense for stamping on little faces.
That's cool looking.
So yeah, that's why they're so high quality.
Is that a little dude with a little balaclava on?
Mm-hmm. There we go. That's a little better. Nice. Balaclava. This guy with a little half skull mask, and then various wounded people. Yeah. They're a company that when they're in town, I like to try and buy stuff from because they come all the way from Illinois.
Oh, okay. That's cool.
That sounds like a really.
That sounds like they don't have a website.
They do have a website. Oh, okay. Citizen Brick. So check them out.
Oh, check that out.
If you're a Lego fan, definitely check them out.
Nice.
Merrick bought me a. I'm going to just show it to you. I'll be right back.
Do it. Very well. Well, while Cable's away really quick, we don't want to give too much time to it, but you got to go to fucking Letterkenny Live, and I didn't get to.
I did. That was a kind of a last minute thing. Someone had tickets that they couldn't use because it was rescheduled from pre-pandemic.
Yeah.
It was.
I just couldn't go alone because my spouse isn't into it. So.
Oh, I mean.
So this little guy is.
Sorry.
Come on, focus.
Hold still. There you go. Is that a little Guy Fieri? What's going on?
No, I changed the hair, but he's tattooed. He's essentially a Yakuza.
Oh.
But
I'd switch the hair out because I use him.
But with blonde hair, he could go to Flavortown.
Yep. I use green hair because I use him for my John to go with my Zhu Shangji.
Oh, okay.
Zhu Shaling.
Yeah.
Shang-Chi's sister.
Yeah, that works. That's cool.
Ronnie Chang's character. That's
I am at Citizen Brick right now, and this is really dangerously addictive.
It is.
Mm-hmm.
It is. Yeah. But yeah, that's where America got that for me last year for my birthday because she's like, "Ooh, this is really cool."
Yeah, that's pretty fun. Wonder if they have Haunted Mansion stuff. I'm gonna look up. Well, let's do the show.
They don't, but they do have a lot of stuff that you can make your own zombies out of.
They have this guy called Wasteland Biker, which you could totally turn into the punk rock guy on the bus in Star Trek 4.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Which is the director.
Which is the director.
Of
the
last Haunted Mansion movie. The Muppet Haunted Mansion movie.
Muppet Haunted Mansion!
Muppet Haunted
Mansion! He's also a producer who's still been involved in the Star Trek for a long time. Yeah, no, it's a good story.
Kirk something.
Speaking of Kirk, they just cast Kirk for season 2 of Strange New Worlds.
Oh, there is going to be a Kirk.
Yep.
In season 2. Yeah.
He looks like a child.
Right.
Muppet Haunted Mansion! Okay, it's well, that sounds like a really fun weekend, man.
It was. I thoroughly enjoyed myself.
That you also really needed.
Yes.
Yeah.
I will say, we're not post-pandemic. We're still
acting like we care about the pandemic.
I mean, we are realistically, if people are smart, we're a year away from it being an endemic. COVID's not going to go away.
No.
Not at this rate.
Well,
not at this point.
Well, COVID's going to become like the flu. There will be the flu shot and the COVID shot. It will become an endemic, not a pandemic.
Right. No, we understand.
And
if there was ever an opportunity for it to only be a single run series pandemic, that window was gone a long time ago.
Yeah, and humans have had to live with endemics and will forever, and that doesn't bug me. I just want us to be more prepared as we roll into it. But
I'm at the point where I will be less. Less militant about wearing masks myself. Militant's the wrong word. Just
stringent.
Thank you. That's the word. Yeah. Like I'm at a point where it's like I can't control the actions of others, but I can control mine. So I can still wear that, and that cuts down on the possibility of bringing it into the house. I will be less stringent about that when we get to a point where it's, you have COVID, here's your shot, like right at the pharmacy where you're
or it's like, I caught COVID, they're like, I'm sorry, like, it was a shitty weekend, like the worst it does is like you have a crappy 48 hours.
Well,
like, you have a bad cold.
The point of it is, but there are still going to be people who aren't, it's not going to do that way. It's more that we're supposed to be moving towards an over-the-counter medication.
And we're getting close to that.
That treats it. And once we're there, then I will go, okay, we did this all wrong, but at least now we're at a point where I'm not mad at all of you all the time.
Right. I mean, I feel like humanity always does it wrong. And then we get to the point where I'm not mad at you. Although, quick little side note, a couple of days ago, I was wearing a mask when I was going to... I had to pop into Winco to get something. Because if you want good Mexican ingredients, you go to Winco. It never lets you down. And I was buying some little bean nose, little pasta stars. Little stars, little estrellas.
A little sopa de fideo.
And I'm in the Mexican food aisle, and I was wearing my mask, and some dude like not got in my face, but was like, "Why are you still doing that? You know it was lifted by the government, right?" And I went, "Oh, I know, but I'm not sheeple. I don't do what the government says. Government tells me I don't have to wear a mask. I wear a mask. I think for myself." And his brain, and the fucking crossbar in his brain went, "Do not compute." And I was like, "I'm not sheeple. Government tells me not to do it. I do it." He was like, and then he just left. And I was like, "Nice."
That's great. I'm gonna use that because I have to go out in public a lot for my job, and
yeah, just do I don't do what the government tells me to do.
No, here's the fun thing is I have resting bitch face. So even with a mask, no one fucking looks at me twice. No one approaches me to talk about anything.
And with your resting bitch face plus a mask, that's powerful. Oh, Jesus, that was the face right there.
Well, that was actually active bitch face.
We're gonna call this episode "Active Bitch Face."
By all means, I was out and about, and I was like, okay, I'm wearing a mask. No one around me is fucking wearing a mask because I was in Beaverton, and I'm just waiting for somebody to say something. You don't have to wear that anymore, right? It's like the most common thing, and my plan was to be like, oh my god, really? I don't? I had no idea, but. Yours is a lot more fun, I think.
Oh yeah, because it gives them the most cognitive breakdown. They don't know how to process it. Yeah, telling them that you're not a sheeple and you don't listen to what the government says to do. It's wonderful.
You two have so much more fun and interesting reactions. I have been at fuck off for so long that that's exactly where I go to anyway.
No, I love fucking with them. I mean, part of it, I know how they think because I did 4 years of paranormal radio. I know how that group thinks. So I know their soft targets.
Well, and again, for me, I never actually have those interactions. So it's always just hypothetical in my mind.
Sure. Yeah, no, I know where to stab them in their Alex Joneses. Well, go ahead.
Merrick texted me while we were talking and said you can liken the Lego printing to nail stamp art. So she said exactly what you did, Bean.
Yep. That is on the short list of things that Merrick and I geek out about is nails, DIY nail stuff, plants,
and witches.
There's other stuff.
And witchy stuff. Yeah.
Mostly witchy stuff, but that's a whole genre of things, and there's different categories.
I like that was also an example of listen to women.
Yeah. Merrick and
I. You don't even need to say anything. I've got you.
Yeah. I think the main thing that Merrick and I correspond over is dark beers. Vinyl. and then also dark vinyl. I feel like dark is what's always, Every once in a while she'll post fashion stuff and I was like, I wish they made that for guys. I would wear that.
Indeed.
Well, should we go to Avatar?
Yeah, I'll give you wanted this last little bit.
Yeah.
My issue with the adult Lego fan community is the same issue that I have with comic books. It's the same thing I have with gaming. There is a glut of old white men that make up the fan base of this. And in all of these things, I always see it's like one of the major stumbling blocks to getting into, that was not an intended pun, to getting into Lego is they are expensive. And Lego does what they can, but they are still a corporation. They are a $1 billion toy business.
They treat their people pretty well, from what I've read.
They do. But yeah, it's
I guess
most of the weekend I was just surrounded by a lot of white folks.
And since I know eventually this episode will get this comment, I feel okay speaking for all of us on this. And we're not saying that like middle-aged or older white men can't enjoy all of these fandoms.
They should.
Because take your pleasure where you can. The world is fucking garbage. So take your joy and pleasure where you can, please. But remember that. And let everyone else take their joy and pleasure too. Because if it's not what you grew up with, doesn't make it any less valid. What you grew up was different than what whatever your kid grew up with or your grandkid grew up with. They all have a different experience. The one thing we all have in common is that we grew up with something that we all love.
Yep.
So why would you want to take that away?
And I will definitely give credit to, like, I had interactions with folks at the table who were 50, 60-year-old white guys that had been collecting Lego for years. And it didn't matter who came up to the table. They talked to everyone and anyone and said, this is how you do this. This is how you do that. You've look for this, build this. Like, they were just overjoyed to share it with everybody. And if that's the majority, great. I don't think it is, because they've proven that before.
Sure.
But there are people that are in the fandom that really do want to bring more people in.
My favorite people that I run into are comics are interesting enough are like older white guys who have been there since the 50s. And by that, I mean, they have stories to tell and they want to share them so badly. So like white dudes who grew up in the 50s and 60s who have these wonderful memories of comics, giving them their expression, their place, and their place to find their heroes and their stories. But they don't want to hinder themselves. They still read all the modern books because they know that comic characters evolve. So when like a 12-year-old is talking about their favorite whatever Batman story, a dude in his 60s says, I read that too. Let me tell you where that was pulled from. And then references a book from the fucking 50s and says, and doesn't say like, you don't know what you're talking about. It says like, here's the foundation. Here's the inspiration. Let's find where it came from. Like that's the beauty of fandom that should be celebrated. Of generations connecting through what was, what is, and what will be one day. So that's always going to be my dream of fandom, which is probably a little Pollyanna of me, which we've established. I am the Pollyanna of the group. That's fine.
An extremely sweet and precious perception of like what it could be and what it sometimes is.
But that's what I work so hard to do. Fuck you, old man.
Your time is over. Go to your grave quietly and leave us to it.
I'll go to my grave, but I just want you to know what came before.
We're not talking about you, though, as the problem here.
And granted, I am the Pollyanna one of this show, and I've come to deal with that. But I'm never going to stop. That's how fandom endures. All right, whatever. Fuck it. I'm an asshole.
Yep. Speaking of fandoms.
Speaking of assholes, also.
No, that's actually apt for this block of Avatar.
by full disclosure, I only got to watch the first 2 episodes. In full disclosure, I'm not going to be able to commit to a whole lot until about the middle of April because I am in full season of the Bruja promo, which feels like the most aggro of like humble brags, but it's a fact. That's what I'm doing right now.
Mm-hmm.
That's fine.
I did see a post from like, I don't remember what magazine it was, but a pretty established kind of geekdom magazine that is also doing apparently like a deep dive into Avatar.
Mm-hmm.
And this article was, for the last 50 years, what was it? Avatar is but the latest example of a show
10 years.
10 years that is trying to show the world that America is the Fire Kingdom without beating it over the head. And I went, oh, okie dokie. Go.
I didn't see any write-up about that, but I think Cable shared with us that it was like a screenshot of an actual interview with one of the creators who was like, we thought we were being pretty obvious about it, but
that's what I'm referencing. Then I apologize, being like getting it wrong. Go ahead. That is what I'm referencing.
And now I have to try to remember. It's like he's like, we've been doing this for 10 years now, and we thought it was pretty obvious that, but Americans still don't realize that they are the Fire Nation, and that is in direct correlation to the Iraq War. Zach shared it with me at one point, and I was like, I'm a little bit embarrassed that I didn't pick up on that.
Because Zach is all things.
He says that maybe it was a Saturday Evening Post. I really can't remember. I'm sure it's actually not hard to figure out. But do we want to talk about that right now, or do we want to talk about the episodes? Where do we want to start?
Let's talk about the episodes.
Yeah.
Before we get further into commentary about what this show is and isn't an analogy of.
Smart. Yeah.
So the next block of episodes that we have is episodes 13, 14, 15, and 16. The first episode 13 is called The Blue Spirit. This is the episode that takes place directly after The Storm, where we have learned both the backstory of Aang when he was told he was the Avatar and how his life changed right before he ended up in the block of ice. And we get the backstory as to how Zuko came to be banished and apparently scarred in that it was his own father, the Fire Lord, Fire Lord Ozai, I think is his name.
Yeah.
Also, Dick. So the Blue Spirit is an episode where
super Dick.
He is where a general that we met before. What is this dickhead's name?
The general.
Zhao.
Yes.
He goes from being Commander Zhao to Admiral Zhao. He's like given a field promotion, and he takes that immediately and goes and manages to capture Aang. And he captures Aang while Aang is in the midst of trying to get herbal remedies for Sokka and Katara, who are sick with a cold.
Right.
So they're completely out of it, have no idea what's going on. Aang is taken prisoner. It looks like there's no hope for him. He is suddenly freed by a mysterious warrior in a blue mask, whose fighting skills are amazing. The two of them run circles around the Fire Nation, the Admiral Zhao's army, and manage to escape.
Right.
At which point, that's when Aang discovers that his rescuer, who is now unconscious, is Zuko.
So Admiral Zhao's guys are the Yuyan, and they're some like super highly skilled archer dudes. And the reason that that Zhao is fighting with this other guy is because Zhao wants them to go find the Avatar, and the argument is that like that's a fucking side project that's really not a priority. Boom, in comes the field promotion, and then he's like, bitch, I do what I want. And now he gets to take these guys.
Yeah, and this is also the episode that begins to hint at Zuko's redemption, which I feel like is going to come one day.
For sure. Because in the previous
I feel
arc,
like this lays the groundwork.
Well, no, the groundwork is learning that he actually used to be a little bit more soft, and his father literally beat him, burned it out of him before exiling him.
Yeah, because his father's a piece of shit.
So he's trying to be hard now because he thinks that's what he needs to do to get back on his dad's good side. But the thing here is, like, they don't get to talk about. Well, no, there is a little bit of talking, but it doesn't. It's not super. What's the word? Like, not a lot comes from their conversation with Aang and Zuko. But
no, because you begin to doubt Zuko's loyalty to the Fire Nation in this episode. At least I did.
Well, how I read it is, like, once Zuko knows that Admiral Zhao has all of these resources and is after the Avatar, now they're in direct competition with each other, but Admiral Zhao has more better means with which to pull it off. And so what I'm seeing is, like, look, if I'm not going to win capturing the Avatar, no one's going to get it. And so it's not about betraying the Fire Nation right now, yet, today in this instance. It's that, like, this is his thing to do, and no one else is going to do it. No one else is going to beat him to this punch.
Right.
What we saw in The Storm about Zuko's backstory is that he doesn't disagree with what the Fire Nation is doing or what his father is trying to do. He disagrees with the strategies that are being put forth because he finds them to be stupid, for the lack of a better word. That's what got him in trouble in the first place, is he sat and listened to military generals make bad decisions that would cost more lives, and he pointed that out, and that's what's gotten him in trouble. So he has a different viewpoint on human life than his father does, and didn't know it until that point. So he definitely, I think that there's a part of him at this point that Zuko is like, this is the only way I can get back, and I have to get back because I eventually have to be the Fire Lord, and I'm going to be the one that making these decisions, and that's the only way I can change what's going on.
Right.
So if he has a different view of human life than his father does, that's his only path forward that he sees at present. It is also really amusing to watch any of these characters, any of our heroes or Zuko, run rings around Zhao, because Zhao is a pompous ass.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, he is. He's horrible. Yeah.
Played to perfection by Jason Isaacs.
I knew I recognized that voice, and I didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't pursue it.
He's really good at playing characters you love to hate.
Yes.
Like,
I
would like to buy that man a lot of beers because of that.
Having seen him at different shows, Jason Isaacs would allow you to buy him beers.
I know. I've heard.
And to quote a certain podcast, one must say hello to Jason Isaacs. That's what you have to do when you see him. You just got to say hello, Jason Isaacs.
All right.
That's
easy.
Okay.
Wait, no. That picture. Go ahead.
Okay.
With Jason Isaacs. Sorry.
But yeah. So watching it, like when Aang first encounters him and just runs ring around him, that's great. Watching Zuko beat him when he's Commander Zhao, and I think that was like episode 3 or 4.
4.
Yeah. And we get to see it again shortly. Because that's also in episode 16. We have more Zhao.
Yes.
So it showcases that, yes, he has all of these resources, but he's incredibly short-sighted.
Yeah.
He is not very good at his job. And Aang has everything that he needs to defeat that guy at present.
He does, and yet I feel like this episode is like a lot of Zuko's growth.
Mm-hmm.
I just randomly I did some research on this episode. The director of this episode, who was a director who did a lot of work on the series, considers Zuko, who considers Zuko his favorite character.
I can see that.
And he specifically mentions this episode is the one that solidified that for him. So yeah,
it's that makes sense because it's a very Ahsoka Tano episode.
I hadn't really thought about that.
You're right. Yeah.
I have always believed one thing, and I've pursued my life towards that one goal, and that all might be wrong.
Now that I think about it, in a weird way, Ahsoka Tano's her natural coloring and tattoos weirdly match the Oni demon of Zuko, the Oni that he has visions about. Yeah. Yeah, no, oh my god, I'm looking at that mask now.
Yep.
And there's a lot of Ahsoka's natural tattoos and face painting on her tentacles and her whatever.
I mean,
there's a lot there going on. Yeah.
We learned in the second season of Mandalorian, Dave Filoni loves sending two people into an impenetrable fortress.
I mean, who doesn't?
And they do it well.
He watched a lot of Fortress of Blood.
Yeah, he did. It's like, I'm going to go in and kill the one person. You get everybody else. It's like, okay, done.
Yeah, that's true. True.
The follow-up to The Blue Spirit was episode 14. I know how numbers work. Episode 15 is called The Fortune Teller, which gives us a more lighthearted episode right up until the end. This is a pretty happy-go-lucky episode that's fun and exciting, and the three travel to a village that has a fortune teller. Everyone goes to the fortune teller. They believe all of her fortunes come true, and they kind of live their life blissfully ignorant of the fact that
their entire village revolves around what the fortune teller tells them.
Aang and Katara get very wrapped up in this. This is a Ahsoka episode where he's like, why do you think? Yeah, he is not a believer in things. Yeah,
he is the anti, but he frequently ends up being right though.
Yes, because he believes in very grounded, very real things. It's like, if I cannot touch it, see it, smell it, eat it, like this isn't real. And I appreciate that when we have these moments where Ahsoka is right about things, he still tries to figure out, it's like, all right, I'm going to let people do what they're going to do. What can I do to try to break them of this? Sidebar, this episode also has the weirdest thing that I have ever seen, and I'm surprised this thing has not shown up in other media. Platypus bear?
Yes, what the hell is that? Did they actually call it anything different? Or because I also have platypus bear written down, but that feels like what I would have called it, not necessarily knowing what it's actually known as in world.
It was called a platypus bear. They called it a platypus bear.
That is...
They said, look out, there's a platypus bear. And I just sat there going, what? And it was a giant bear with a duck's bill and a beaver tail.
The thing I don't understand, like, a giant platypus would have been just as weird. Why do you need to take the platypus, an intrinsically weird animal that doesn't understand itself, and mash it up with yet another animal?
Mm-hmm. I don't know.
Maybe to make it scarier. I don't know.
Sure.
I mean, you've already got like Appa, who is
a flying bison.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah, he's called a flying bison.
A flying bison. And he doesn't really look like a bison exactly, because he's got like 6 or 8 legs, right? He has extra legs.
Yes, he does. And he flies.
Kind of a tail like a platypus. He's got like a big flat paddle tail.
Yep.
So they just be making shit up. Magic World.
Mostly, yeah. It's the and when Appa comes and scares off the platypus bear, it lays an egg in fear and runs off. Like,
I forgot about that.
oh yeah, it lays this giant egg that Sokka's like, look, lunch.
Free food.
It's like, okay. It's presumably an unfertilized egg. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how platypuses work.
I don't want to
wanna
think
know
about
how
it too hard
platypuses
right
work.
now.
Right.
Anyway,
but I did like the more entertaining, the goofy nature of this episode, where
yes.
I know I've been critical of the goofy episodes before. Now it's like, all right, if you're gonna do this,
like, the silliness of it
okay.
is it still has like repercussions for future stuff. Chiefly the romance stuff. We haven't had any romantic situations going on yet, and I didn't expect to see it, especially since they're supposed to be relatively young, and two of them are siblings to begin with. But they are working it in.
I expected it because it's like Ahsoka's what, 14?
I'm not sure. We'll go with that.
I think Ahsoka and Zuko are both 14-year-olds, maybe 15.
Wait, Ahsoka by when?
In this first season.
That tracks, yeah.
Katara is, I think, a year younger, and Aang is established that he is chronologically 112 years old, but he is a 12-year-old.
Right. I thought he was 10.
Nope,
that makes more sense. Okay, it's yes. If you Google it, it says that they are 15 and 14. Ahsoka and Katara, which will be changed to 16 and 14 in the Netflix remake. Fine, whatever.
Okay. Seems arbitrary.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think the more impressive thing that ties into the whole thing about Aang being the Avatar is when he stops a volcano. I mean, he doesn't stop the volcano. Like they figure out a way to divert the flow, but he takes the brunt of the pyroclast.
They do a bunch of mitigating to protect the village itself, but it's not enough, and so he's just like shoving lava with force here and there. I mean, I guess I wasn't surprised by that part, but you're supposed to be.
Yeah, I think it's because we took it face value. It's like, yeah, this kid is already super powerful.
Right, he's the Avatar.
Yeah.
But it is sort of the takeaway of this episode, because Sokka and Katara are there watching it, and Sokka actually makes it a point to be like, oh yeah, sometimes I forget, because he acts like a little goofy child, that Aang is actually a very powerful bender. And that is a trigger for Katara from the fortune that she got from the fortune teller. And so that's another seed that's been planted simultaneously there. Like, oh yeah, remember, this guy's actually very powerful. He's not just a little baby.
He's just not a goofy kid.
Yeah. And also, hey, Katara, check this kid out. What up?
I feel like that there have been seeds of that coming from episode 1. Like they have shown that Aang has a certain level of embarrassment that he gets around Katara that he does not get around everyone else.
Right, but she's never really noticed him before. Not like that.
That's because her focus is trying to figure out waterbending, not boys.
Right.
Boys, she's already figured out. They're dumb.
Well, you say that, but like the half of this episode is Katara being told a romantic fortune and then being hyper focused on knowing more about that.
And yet, an episode later, that doesn't matter anymore. It's almost like she has some sort of condition where she hyper focuses on something until the next thing comes along, and then she hyper focuses on that.
Rude. So rude. Cable, I'm leaving.
Wait a minute. Are you saying that she maybe has some ADHD issues that are then manifested on this show as Hyper Pixie Dream Girl? How dare you? How dare you call out Denise like that?
Maybe.
Did you just say Hyper Pixie Dream Girl?
Yes.
I wasn't specifically targeting Denise.
That is canonically how ADHD manifests with women in pop culture. I'm not saying it's fair. That is how it is manifested. You are actually not a Hyper Pixie Dream Girl at all. At all.
I don't really know how to respond to that.
You are
moving on.
Moving
on. Did you have any other thoughts on the fortune teller, Denise?
No, we covered the important parts. We got a few more to get to.
So I think the one that follows that, Bato of the Water Tribe, is actually, it's action focused, but it is very important character wise. Bato of the Water Tribe, Sokka and Katara end up finding a bunch of
Water Tribe stuff.
Yes. And then make it to this monastery where there is a surviving member of the Water Tribe's navy named Bato, who is a friend of Sokka and Katara's father. And so they're sitting around a campfire, sharing stories, talking about one another, or talking about everything. And this is the first time that Aang feels completely left out. And that causes him to make some really shitty choices.
Yeah. It makes sense, but this episode goes exactly the way you think it's going to go. From the moment you realize Aang feels like almost left out and ignored, you kind of know exactly how things are going to play out. He's going to make a bad decision. People are going to get upset with him. And sure enough, Katara and Sokka are going to basically leave Aang on his own, and they're going to go with Bato to go find their dad.
For completely reasonable, like, their reaction is reasonable since he hid information that he received about their father.
Their dad, yes. Who they have this whole time, they haven't known where he is or if he's even alive. And all of a sudden they are given a chance to reconnect. They're like, no, he's like, he just went that way. And as soon as we know exactly where, we're going to go catch up with him. It's like tangible for the first time since he left. And that was years ago. Because that's the whole thing is like a lot of this episode is Sokka like having memories about his dad leaving and him being too young to go. At the age that
he would have been 10 at the time.
Right. At the age that he currently is now, he should have more training than he does. And so then like logically assuming he is old enough now to be participating in the war essentially.
Yep. He like when we met them, Sokka is essentially the man of his tribe.
That's true. There's no other adult men, and everyone else is a child.
Yeah, he's still a 14-year-old. And I think that's one of the things that I liked about this episode is that Aang's reactions were completely understandable for a 12-year-old with limited emotional maturity. And Sokka and Katara's reaction to what Aang did and their anger towards him also were on par with children
feeling betrayed.
Of that level of emotional maturity.
There is also that element where Aang actually overheard part of a conversation, not all of the conversation, and actually did get the direct impression that they were going to leave without him. And so basically it became a self-fulfilling prophecy because he essentially eavesdropped and got misinformed.
And like as so many shows, the plots of these shows would always be fixed if people just talk to one another.
Yes.
If Aang had just asked a question. everything would have been fine.
But then what would we watch?
Right.
AKA why Cable enjoys Arrow so much. Within the season 2, they just were like, no, this is who I am. We're not going to deal with that bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. I get secret identities in comic books, secret identities in comic book based movies and television.
They don't work. Problematic. It's problematic. Yeah, it's tricky to pull off for sure.
It's almost like there were 2 major motion pictures featuring a major superhero that was all about that and how problematic that can be.
Mm-hmm. I don't think I've ever really thought about this before, but when did a lot of these comic book heroes come into our culture?
Like cinematic, yeah, 30s and 40s, yeah,
1930s.
Do you mean cinematically or
the birth of a society where men are completely cut off from their feelings and it fucks up their sons?
Oh, the 1920s,
and then their sons, and then their sons.
Oh no, wait, forever. Cain and Abel.
All right,
when do you want to talk about where men told their sons don't have feelings? Yeah, Cain and Abel.
Well, that doesn't count because that's not real.
Wait, are you saying that means that Batman's real? You are correct.
No, that's not what I'm saying. Let's just move
That's
on.
what you're saying. Man is more real than Jesus.
I do appreciate the monastery where all of these people are staying at, and the sisters at the monastery also kind of through a certain level of, like, they weren't unkind to Aang, but they were like, no, you screwed up, kid. Maybe you should go figure that out.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I know you're the Avatar, but fuck off. Go
like they were like mean about it, but they were like,
they weren't.
I think we're done here.
They were like Rami and the nuns, absolute candor.
Mm-hmm.
Like, look, kiddo, figure it out yourself.
And he did, which was, I think the important point is he went, I did this, I screwed up, and this is how I screwed that up. And if I want this, I have to go fix it, and I have to go say I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Here's where we get to a part that I really wanted to get your thoughts on, Cable.
Mm-hmm.
Is after the other two are mad at Aang and they're gonna go off with Batu, there's this weird mystical ethnic folk kind of a situation. So the kids are leaving with Batu and they hear a wolf howling in the distance. And Batu is explaining, he's like, that's a lone wolf and he's sad because he's alone. And I understand the pain of being separated from my people. That's how the wolf feels. Which then Sokka is relating, himself to how his father left and how he felt alone without him. But that little bit there where there's like, okay, so you heard a wolf howling and you've extrapolated this whole thing that you relate to about the lone wolf being separated from his people. Mm-hmm. And that felt very like mystical brown people shit to me.
Yeah, it really did. I didn't want to bring it up, but thanks for bringing it up.
It does. But that's this entire show.
I'm just saying, like, the episode would have been super fine without it. I don't think like every episode has weird mystical shit, but like that one like literally felt like you just think anyone who's not white has weird mystical powers, don't you?
So here's the thing, though.
Wait, Denise, don't let that out. What do you do?
The wolf is the symbolism of the wolf is not. Sorry, I've got a sentence in my head. I'm just trying to put it together. This is not the first time that we have seen wolf totem, wolf symbology paired with the water tribe. So this is actually a through line. It actually makes sense for him to do this. I think in this episode we see a flashback with Sokka. When Sokka's father departed for the Navy, he has war paint. Sokka himself has war paint on. He paints his face as a wolf. He did this in episode 2 when the Fire Nation attacked.
Okay.
When he first challenges Zuko, his face is painted as a wolf. So they have already established very subtly that the symbology of the wolf and what wolves' behavior and what they do means something to the Water Tribe.
Okay.
So there is context as to why they would have done that.
All right. I'll let it slide then.
I
had not picked
don't
up
let
on.
it slide. Like, please keep bringing that shit up.
I had not picked up on those earlier hints.
Denise is all, I'll allow it.
I also was not retaining enough in the beginning because I wasn't like note taking the way I am now. Now I'm like, hold on a second. I paid more attention, so now we need to talk about this.
I think it like I won't think about this, but if you bring it up, I'll go, oh wait, this might be connected to this, might be connected to this. That's when I will start remembering the symbology that I've seen. Mm-hmm. So please by all means, keep bringing this up.
The other big thing that happens here is there's a B plot of Zuko finding a bounty hunter who has a special tracking animal who looks like a wolf/mole, like a blind mole face on a wolf body. Speaking of weird animal mashups, and it's
the badger mole, scorpion badger mole thing.
So weird. I forgot about the scorpion.
It had a badger body and a badger face, but it had no eyes. It had the mole's nose, but then it had barbs in its tail that were poisonous.
Yeah, that thing was.
No,
beastly.
It wasn't in its tail. It was in its tongue.
Oh, and its tongue.
Yeah, it was its tongue that popped out and would put a paralyzing toxin in people.
Yes, yeah. So anyway, that's so. Oh my God, Zuko and his uncle conscript this bounty hunter to help them track Aang, and you get to see them just plowing through the last 3 episodes worth of places that they've been to in the show until towards the end of this episode they catch up with Aang. Luckily, at that point, also because of the whole sad lone wolf situation, the kids have decided that they're going to go back and they're not going to abandon Aang. And then it becomes this big old fight between everybody. Oh my God, I lost my place in the notes. And at the end of the fight, they barely get away, really. They don't like beat Aang and the bounty hunter and their mole, badger, scorpion necessarily, but they get away. The one victory here is that Aang was able to recover Katara's necklace that she lost back in the Earthbender episode with George Takei, and so he gives that back to Katara, who then gives him a little kiss. And I'm pretty sure that like she doesn't really think anything of it. She's just being like cute about her gratitude. But you can definitely tell that Aang is like still thinking about them fortune tellers.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I do want to say that I identified too much with Uncle Iroh in this episode.
You mean when he was being a creepy old man?
Towards the completely dominatrix bounty hunter. Yes.
Cable, I'm not gonna lie, that's kind of hot.
It was.
Well, Cable and I have had these talks before.
I just sat there going, oh, and then Uncle Iroh started talking, I'm like, oh, okay, good. So he's saying all the things that I'm thinking in my head.
I don't know if that's really something you want to be aspiring to, guys.
Look,
I mean, I guess as long as
I
you're
had
not
been a dirty old man since I was about 6 years old.
Yeah. Cable and I have had conversations, Denise, that you are not allowed to take part in.
Yes, she
I'm
is.
good.
She's
I'm good.
totally
Thanks.
allowed to take part in them so that she can go, you fucking idiots.
It's fair.
I have enough ammunition on that ground.
We do have one more episode, but I think The Deserter, which is episode 16, I want to give that more space.
We could definitely spend a good amount of time on
Should
this.
we wait till
episode.
next week for that one?
Yeah, and that way you can kind of see this one too, because there's a lot. Because I'd like to hear.
Yeah, and I'll give full disclosure. The past few weeks, it's kind of a humble brag, but my life has been nothing but promo for the last season of the Bruja.
Yeah,
I keep fucking calling it the last Bruja, which is the old title, by the way.
Mm-hmm. Season of the Bruja.
Season of the Bruja. There's a lot of stuff going on. I'm doing like 6 interviews a week. I don't even know when they go out. I don't know. So and I have a board bean. She's out. Yeah, I haven't been able to develop enough to Avatar as I wanted to, because it's just been fucking, I didn't realize it would be this relentless, and that's not a complaint. It's just been,
sure. There's
a lot, and this is my first major book, so I want to give it the attention that it needs.
Yes. Totally
because this is, I'll put it back on the screen here. Hold on. Because for the longest time, Oni only did graphic novels, and Season of the Bruja is one of the first titles in many years, and Cable will know this, knowing comics, that Oni has gone back to single issues. I have learned that Season of the Bruja is kind of an experiment in getting Oni back into creator-owned titles. So there is more pressure on this book than I realized. So
no pressure.
No pressure.
I've been putting Hey, let's put pressure on the Brown book. That never happens in history. No, full disclosure, Oni has been in my corner and my back. They've been kicking ass. So I'm not throwing shade. Actually, Oni's been fucking killing it.
No, that's our job. We throw shade.
Yeah. Well, don't show thread at them. They've been killing it. Anyway, that is why I have not been able to watch a lot of Avatar. I have been spending a lot of time on my book, which maybe 10 years from now, some other jackass podcast will do a deep dive on. Like,
that'll be great.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah. Once the book comes out, I'll be able to give more attention to Avatar. But I feel really bad that I haven't been able to give it the attention it deserves. I feel bad.
Just watch the next couple episodes and we'll catch up on it next week.
Okay, great.
Also, I think we're pretty good with the 2/3 rule. As long as 2/3 of us have done the homework, we can get by.
Yes, Geek in the City is always endeared by the 2/3 rule. Yes.
Giving away our trade secrets.
It's that one.
By the way, this is a good place to take a break. Okay. Actually, fucking A. We've been at this for almost an hour and a half.
I know. It's like
so let's do the trailers fast then.
Yeah. I think the trailers that we were excited about was, of course, Obi-Wan.
Mm-hmm.
And Miss Marvel.
And Miss Marvel.
Let's start with Obi-Wan. Let's start when they came out. So, Obi-Wan trailer, fucking awesome. Okay, let's go.
It seemed like it's going to be everything that it's supposed to be. I was going to comment that we watched that fan film earlier.
Yeah, so about a year ago, a fan made a new version of Obi-Wan and Vader fighting in A New Hope, which was way more emotionally intense than what anyone's ever saw in the movie. And it plays well with the Obi-Wan trailer. Yeah, so go ahead.
I disagree.
Oh no!
Yeah, I know you like that.
I did.
I remember watching it when it came out. I didn't care for it then, and I still don't care for it. Like it's I
Ah!
get the interpretation that they're going for. It's just not an
Yeah.
interpretation that I care for.
I liked it in the moments where like they literally punch each other. People are like, but they have the Force, and I'm like, it's so much more personal than just the Force.
I mean, I get what you're saying. Like, no, like they hate each other that much that it's no holds barred, right? But
Anakin hates him. Obi-Wan loves Anakin, and his heart's broken.
You know what I mean.
Right, yeah,
but yeah. I'm with Cable. I didn't need it. I'm like,
well, then I'm out.
We all know that like somebody, you know, fucking George Lucas like wrote some movies without really giving it a ton of backstory and context, and then for the next 40 years we've just been like cramming in as much story as possible into, you know, into this like this little corner of this universe. And I mean, don't get me wrong,
right, that's fair.
I love everything that we've had over the last several years. I'm not crazy about the prequels, but I'm fine with the movie the way it was originally. You know, mm-hmm. I don't know that it's necessarily adding anything for me emotionally by like making the fight you know, a little bit dirtier and like adding in audio from a prequel that was made after the original content.
That's fair. So let's talk about really quickly what we think about the Obi-Wan trailer.
So I think the trailer indicates that it promises the emotional impact that you get from this fan film.
Okay, yeah.
I think agree. We're going to get like what you interpret from that, because I didn't interpret any of that from that. Like, okay. But I do think that that's exactly what we're going to get with the miniseries. And
I mean, I know that initially during filming, the director, I'm sorry, I forget her name. She was the director on The Mandalorian, and she's doing all the shows in Obi-Wan.
Oh, Deborah Chow.
Deborah Chow, there was a story that just came out like yesterday where they talked about how Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau went to Deborah Chow and went, go bigger, go as big as you can. But apparently, so in Deborah Chow's version, Obi-Wan has more of an interaction with Darth Maul. And they cut all of that out. Where she was like, can I use Vader? Yeah, and she was like, so can I use Vader? And they're like, yeah. And she's like, well, then fuck it. Vader has a much more emotional impact to Obi-Wan than Maul ever did. So if you're going to let me use Vader, I'm going to use Vader. Which lets you know the tone of this miniseries is, because I think it's just 6 episodes, 6 or 7, and that's it. There's no Obi-Wan season 2. Obi-Wan season 2 is Star Wars: A New Hope. I feel like, you know. So I like the fact that they're like, no, use him. Like, use Hayden Christensen. Like, fuck, we're gonna get Hayden Christensen, which is great. That the way that trailer opens though is what. Oh, it's funny. Like, the emotional impact is when you get the title and you hear Duel of the Fates, because Duel of the Fates is such a wonderful track.
And it evokes a very specific point in the Star Wars mythology.
It really does. And like, people forget that like Duel of the Fates was on Total Request Live for 15 weeks at number 1. On fucking MTV, John Williams was number 1 for 15 weeks. That's fucking ridiculous.
Did not know that.
Yeah. But for me personally, it's the opening 10 seconds of that trailer. When you hear Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan say, like, the war's over. We lost. Like, we lost. And that subtle music in the background is the music they used during the Anakin and Obi-Wan fight on Mustafar. Their battle, which for me is very heartbreaking. That entire fight, Obi-Wan's heart is breaking. He loves Anakin. He loves him so much. And to a point to where I feel like Obi-Wan doesn't 100% disagree with Anakin. It's just that Anakin has gone too far. He's now a Sith Lord. But Obi-Wan loves Anakin as a brother. So when you have that music of that fight now being transposed as an opening where Obi-Wan says, the war is over, we lost. Like, it's an acknowledgement of the Jedi are a failure. The best I can do now is protect this child. Mm-hmm. That's all I got left. My only redemption is to protect this child. And I think that's where I hope this show goes. I don't need big over-the-top Star Wars action. I just would like to see
it anyway.
Yeah,
you're gonna get it. You're gonna get it, sure, but like my gut tells me we're never gonna want to see Obi-Wan activate a lightsaber. I don't think we're going to in this show. I just don't.
I don't know. So I also do not feel like I need a bunch of action, and that's clearly going to happen based on at least that's what the trailer implies. It looks a lot more actiony. I was really hoping for more of an old man Kenobi,
I agree with action. You. I agree with you, Denise. I wanted a Western. Old man Kenobi.
And that's just it, is I don't think we're getting old man Kenobi. We're getting middle-aged Kenobi.
That's
because old man Kenobi.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Old man Kenobi, we have seen. That is Star Wars: A New Hope.
That's Alec Guinness.
No. I'm sorry. I meant the comic book run, Old Man Kenobi. I'm sorry. Maybe it wasn't called. It wasn't called that. But there was a
comic.
No.
I'll be right back. Keep going.
But there was that short run Obi-Wan comic series from Marvel Star Wars. That was, God, it must have been only like 3 or 4 issues, although 4 is a weird number. But it was a short run Obi-Wan Kenobi comic book series that is just, and it's formatted like his journal entries of his time on Tatooine, keeping an eye on Luke growing up. And so obviously that is part of what you're getting, because you see him watching Luke as a child, and you get
Not
Uncle
creepy.
Owen. Not creepy at all. Yeah, you get Uncle Owen. But on top of that, there's also going to be a bunch of new characters being dropped in. The Grand Inquisitor, who I believe is from the Darth Vader comic book run. Maybe it's from other stuff too that I don't know, but I'm pretty sure that that's where I know those characters from.
The Inquisitors were also introduced, or were also part of Rebels.
Ah, okay. Did I ever finish Rebels? Shit.
I don't think you did. Otherwise, there is a Rebels is why I don't much care for that fan film that we watched, because my idea of what Obi-Wan fights like comes more from what he fights like in Rebels than in that.
Okay.
The spoilers.
Yeah. I see now why I didn't finish it.
Yeah, he's in an episode, and it is one of the best lightsaber fights that I never thought that. It's one of the best lightsaber fights I've seen. It is also not the lightsaber fight that I thought I was going to get. It is the lightsaber fight that it's the only way that fight makes sense. It's the only way. And
that's why that fan remake doesn't work for you.
Yeah. Okay. At all. It's like, oh, right. Kenobi at that age doesn't have flashy lightsaber fights. He has 3 moves and then you're dead.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm also kind of curious, like, are we gonna get like more of a hard-boiled Obi-Wan here? Because he's gonna be living a rough life out in the desert, and almost certainly not going to have his lightsaber, because if it holds true to, other.
To other media?
Go. Yeah, go.
to other media of this time, like he absolutely has to cover up the fact that he's a Jedi. So
yeah,
you shouldn't get to see him with a lightsaber. What does that do to his fighting style? Plus, what kinds of people is he going to be running into? Where and how he is emotionally right now? I'm like, are we going to see like a mean Kenobi?
I don't think so. We're gonna get a very not broken, but like I think we're gonna get a Kenobi that is like. I think we're gonna Kenobi that is gonna think about his master Qui-Gon and be like, everything Qui-Gon said to me was correct, and that sucks because Qui-Gon did not believe in the Jedi Council. That's why he was never awarded the rank. He was a master, but he denied his place at the council because Qui-Gon was always like, your arrogance on this council is going to doom us all. And the council was like, come on, Qui-Gon, what are you doing? You're out of your mind. Qui-Gon was right. So Kenobi is that balance between believing in the Jedi Order, but also understanding the teaching of his master Qui-Gon. He's the middle of that. And I think we're going to see a lot of that in the Kenobi series. What I think that play out.
I think this is also where I'm. This is where I skew off from other Star Wars fans. I'm not that big of a fan of Obi-Wan Kenobi. Like I really like what Ewan McGregor has done with the character, and I appreciate it. But the character himself, Obi-Wan is kind of a dick, and I've never been on board with Kenobi. And I think that's kind of so. I get what you're saying, Aaron. I've never agreed with that particular philosophy about him.
Which is interesting because I've never seen Kenobi as someone who believes in the Jedi Order. So I think it'll be interesting to watch how you and I approach Kenobi.
Indeed. Like, I do want to watch the show. I think it's going to be fascinating to watch.
I'm excited because Ewan McGregor is fantastic. Ewan McGregor, his portrayal of Kenobi is so wonderful. It's just wonderful.
I'm trying to do the math.
He's just enough Alec Guinness and himself to really make it his own. And I think that's wonderful.
So here's the thing. When Star Wars A New Hope takes place, Kenobi is supposed to be mid-50s, right?
Yeah, sure.
And Ewan McGregor is like 50 now.
Yeah.
But we don't know exactly when this takes place. Like,
well,
we do.
We do.
He's still a child.
Luke. Yeah, we see Luke in that shot, and he's 6 or 7.
So we're still closer to the end of Revenge of the Sith than we are the beginning of A New Hope.
Yeah, because Luke is 19 in A New Hope. So
we really are getting like 40-year-old Kenobi.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I don't think we're going to get a Ghost of Qui-Gon. Bex just asked about that. I don't think we will.
I don't know that I don't know what it would add at this point.
I mean, I could see maybe it adding a little bit. I mean, we might actually, now that I think about it, because someone's got to train Kenobi in that ability. Qui-Gon's one of the first Jedis to become a Force Ghost, which is mentioned in Revenge of the Sith, where Yoda's like, your old master, I must teach you his skills, So maybe that could be cool. I don't know. I feel like the Kenobi show is going to be very tragic. And that's a weird spot for Star Wars as a rule right now, because I mean, in the end, there is only so much threat you can put in the show. We know that Kenobi survives the show. We know that Luke Skywalker, Owen, and Aunt Beru, those are the 4 characters who have to survive this show. They have to. So the responsibility and pressure is put on the show to create reasons for us to wonder and have an idea and believe there's a threat without those 4 primary characters. And that's the trick. Can you pull that off? Can you make me believe that there are stakes when your primary characters have story and vulnerability, basically? You can't kill Luke. You can't kill Obi-Wan. You can't kill Uncle Owen. You can't kill Aunt Beru. So how do you give me drama? How do you give us drama? What do? You
put Inquisitors in it.
Right. So in a weird way, as much as I love Obi-Wan, this show is Star Wars Inquisitors.
Mm-hmm.
Seems like it.
You have to give us something else to care about. Not that we don't care about Obi-Wan and Luke Skywalker, but it was the same problem that the prequels have. Those characters have story immunity. They weren't going to die. They can't. So
some of them did.
Yes, but you knew when Obi-Wan Kenobi jumped off that car in episode 2 that he wasn't going to fucking die. Because he can't. I don't know. I
think that we have veered far and away from discussing a trailer to this now all has to be saved for when we actually start watching Kenobi.
Yeah, and also, as Denise mentioned, maybe we talk about the Ms. Marvel trailer next week, because we're now in hour 45. And I have thoughts on that Ms. Marvel trailer.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Thoughts.
Yeah, that's why we should save it.
Not hot takes, thoughts. All right, well, should we wrap up then?
Yes.
I think so.
All right, well, everybody, thanks for listening. I'm Aaron Duran.
I'm Banarita.
And I'm Cable Hashitani.
We will talk to you next week with our thoughts on Ms. Marvel. All right. Bye, everybody.